This is Beyond the Door, exploring the light of Freemasonry. Welcome back to Beyond the Door, exploring the light of Freemasonry. Again, I'm Chris Crume, and I'm once again joined by my co-host, Matt Salyer. Boy, it's great to be here again. I think the inaugural episode, we got that out. Not perfect, but boy, we hit it.
It feels good to get it done, didn't it?
Oh my gosh. It's like a weight's lifted off my shoulders, honestly. You know, as long as we've been talking about this project, it really does feel rewarding.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and fairly well received with the little bit of feedback we've gotten.
Yeah, the feedback that we've gotten from, brothers at the lodge around the district, I really feel like we're getting some momentum. We're getting some momentum, and it's going to be a fun, wild ride.
Excited to keep going, and excited to hopefully improve on the product as we grow and learn a little bit more about what it is we're doing here.
And as we learn more about Masonry too, I think, the more we learn there, the more we put out into this too. So I think that labor of love we talked about last week, I think it definitely, this is a labor of love that's going to be hopefully generational.
Yeah, yes, and I'm excited for some of the people who are kind of lined up to come in here and help us on that journey. Yeah,
same here. I've been looking forward to what we're going to talk about for this episode too, really thinking about the 3 degrees, the core of what we do, talking about those degrees and really what they mean to us, kind of some of the, symbolism and the everything that goes into those, as well as featuring that second part of our interview with Worshipful Brother Art Sterling. The first part was great, but you're going to love the second part too, I think.
Yeah, Art's a fun guy. He was fun to sit down and talk with, and if you ever get an opportunity to sit down with Worshipful Brother Art Sterling, he certainly has some stories.
Oh my gosh, the stories that he has they're just great. I mean, again, thinking about the history and how far that goes back, and the brethren that he was sitting with in lodge and how far that stretches back, it makes time shrink just a little bit.
Especially here, when we got into the conversation about just how not very far removed we were from the founding of this country, right?
Yeah.
Which we kind of went into a little bit last time, but that was kind of eye-opening in the sense that it's not really been that many generations. And it's been here, at least the craft has essentially been here since before the country was founded.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to, and this is a topic for another time too, but going back to the Grand Lodge of 1717 in England, and really where a lot of the core tenets of what we still do today emerged. So, knowing that we're not that far removed, we're really not, a little over 300 years.
And a couple of wars.
A couple of wars in there too.
All right. A little bit of a look ahead here. Tuesday, November the 4th at 7:30 p.m., Newark number 97 is going to have their annual meeting and election of officers. That will take place at the Newark Masonic Temple. Saturday, November the 8th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., the Licking County Historical Society passport tours are going to be going on again at the Newark Masonic Temple. If you have not been here for one of those, come down and check it out. Also Saturday, November the 8th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., the 19th District Leadership Course Phase 3 will take place at Ohio Lodge number 199. Wednesday, November the 12th at 7 p.m., the 19th District Masonic Association meeting will take place at Ohio Lodge number 199 in Bladensburg. And then finally, Saturday, November 22nd from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., the 19th District Day of Learning will take place at the Newark Masonic Temple in downtown Newark.
And that is really, I think, a crucial piece of calendar information right there. The District Day of Learning, all Master Masons are welcome to come to that in the 19th District, and it's a really good time to either learn the role that you've just been elected to or learn a role that you want to aspire to at some point.
Yes, and I look at this basically as a prerequisite, right, for any new office that you're going to undertake. If you're involved in your lodge, right, Now, those leadership courses, I think, are supplementary to that, and obviously they're not required. I look at the day of learning personally as a requirement. I think that's the best introduction to a new seat that a person can get when they're taking on a role of a chair within a lodge.
Absolutely. The day of learning is kind of like that crash course for the new, that new role that you're taking on, and the district leadership courses are kind of like more of a semester long class if you're thinking about it academically. Both of them are super crucial, and the day of learning, it doesn't matter if this is the first time you've held that chair or the 50th time you've held that chair. Each time I think you learn something new, just as the brethren rotate into those chairs and you have different brethren that you get to interact with.
I frankly would have said the same thing, because there are times that you'll learn from your peers. So there's obviously people that are teaching you things from more of a, front of the classroom leadership standpoint, but there might be brethren from other lodges that were in a different room last year because they held a different chair. And it turns out that, they're maybe coming back to a chair that they've been in before, and they've got a bit of information that they're sharing with the group that you might not have otherwise gotten. And I've never attended one of these and not learned something new.
Oh, same here. And again, I look at that as juxtaposed to the leadership course. Again, that's more of an in-depth, like, these are the things you need to know to be a really good leader as you're progressing through the chairs. Decision-making, budgetary skills, people skills, all of those types of things. That's what you're really getting in that course. Again, it's with different brethren from around the district, and each time you go, it might not be the same, but the material is a lot deeper, I think, than what you get at that day of learning, where it's more that crash course of saying, okay, now I'm running my lodge. If you're a brand new master, you've got maybe a 5-time master in that same room with you saying, this is what I've learned.
100%. And another distinction worth making is, of course, that the day of learning is strictly Masonic, whereas those leadership courses are fully transferable, right? They're obviously great for being within the lodge, but also great for, your daily job.
Yeah. I think it's great for your daily job. It's great for any other nonprofits that you might be, involved with, any other volunteer work that you're involved with, anywhere that
youth sport,
anywhere that you're leading. That leadership course is very transferable, and you can take those transferable skills you've gotten outside and then bring them into Masonry through that as well, which I think is very unique for that. Personally being, having done, a lot of facilities management and things like that, I was able to bring that kind of a unique perspective in, especially with that third phase that we just wrapped up. So anybody that hasn't been to those yet, I highly encourage that you get to those. Like you said earlier too, if you haven't gotten down to one of our passport tours as well, get down and see that. We really love showing this building off, and especially those 2 amazing paintings up in the Blue Room.
Yeah, it's the artwork alone is worth the trip, but there's far more to this building than just those works of art, and it's worth checking out. So come on down.
Absolutely. And, I think that's, we've learned a lot about that with our interview with Art too. And I think, in this second part, we're going to learn some more about that, just the beauty and the history of what's here in front of us, and being able to appreciate that and being able to open that up to our community, I think it's super important. It shows our community that we're here and we're not going anywhere. So like I said, I think at the top, this is a topic I've really been looking forward to talking about, the 3 degrees of the Blue Lodge, the heart and soul of what we do. Matt, talk a little bit about the degrees and explain, as much as you can, their significance, some of the symbolism, just everything about those degrees.
Oh, that is a big topic. I'm going to try and chunk this, right? So
start with the EA.
Yeah. So your entered apprentice degree is going to be your first degree, right? That is going to be your absolute introduction to Masonry. You are not going to come in really fully knowing anything if we do our jobs right here, right?
Yeah.
There is a lot of stuff out there that people can see, but it is unfortunately surrounded by misinformation and disinformation. So while there's some legitimacy to what's out on the internet, if we're doing our job right here in the lodge, they're not going to know.
Absolutely.
Right? So that entered apprentice degree is going to be your introduction to Masonry. you are going to be exactly that, an apprentice. And if you're unfamiliar with the word, that is someone who is taken in for a trade, right, in a very basic fashion. They're there basically as cheap labor to learn a trade from a master, somebody who is a master at their craft, so that they can then progress and one day go out on their own as their own master, right, and take on other apprentices. And there's just a mountain of symbolism that takes place within this degree and the lecture of this degree that I don't know how much we want to get into, right? But I looking at it in chunks. Next, we're looking at our fellow craft, right? This is kind of when you're, if I'm going to keep with the analogy that we're discussing, it's when you know what you're doing, but you're not quite an expert.
Yeah,
right?
you're kind of given those wings to fly a little bit, but not
right.
too far to the sun yet.
You haven't put in your 10,000 hours for mastery.
Yeah, you're not
right?
You're not quite there. You've learned, but you're not quite there yet.
That's exactly right. And much like the Entered Apprentice degree, there's a mountain of symbolism that takes place within this degree. And it's actually one of my favorite. There was the first, when I was first the Master of the Lodge, that was the degree we were inspected in. And while it's a very, very short degree, it's actually my favorite lecture.
Yeah, mine too. I think I love that lecture. The symbolism in that lecture it's spot on for life.
It really is. The fact that it is as brief as it is, but there's as much taking place that occurs, right?
Yeah.
It's really astounding. Like, I don't think that you can sit down, even knowing it, and digest the whole thing all at once. You really got to do it bit by bit. You got to eat the elephant, right? Bite at a time.
I mean, I've heard that degree and that lecture, I don't even know how many times at this point. And each and every time I hear that lecture, I learn something different. Something new pops out to me from that lecture, you know, and really that one is the one that I think about and focus about the most when I look at my Masonic journey too. It's just got such a great guide and kind of compass for where you're supposed to go with your life and where you're supposed to go with Masonry.
Yeah, there is a whole lot going on within the fellow craft degree around morality and virtues and what it means to lead a virtuous life, right? And leave a legacy, a positive one.
Yes.
And then, of course, finally, you've got your Master Mason degree. It's the third and final degree of Blue Lodge. And that's when you have earned your 10,000 hours of mastery, right? You are ready to take on additional roles. You are now proficient in all of the working tools of Freemasonry. You've now heard everything that the lectures have to impart on you. Now, whether or not you've fully interpreted those, right, and made them a part of your life, that's on you as an individual. But you've now been introduced to everything, and you've put in the work to get there and start working within the lodge, right, and maybe hearing those lessons in a different way, that you're better able to integrate them.
Absolutely. And now you're able to pass on those lessons too. Now that you're the master craftsman, now you can pass those lessons on to the entered apprentices and the fellow crafts as they're coming up, and you take them on just like you were taken, under somebody's wing when you came in as that entered apprentice, and then that cycle just perpetuates. And I mean, for me, I think one of the coolest experiences I've had so far is having someone come in as an entered apprentice and being able to be the master of the lodge for all three of their degrees and really guide them through all three of their degrees. I can't think. Well, I can think of a few better experiences, but we'll get to those in a few minutes. But just the symbolism of that, being taken under somebody's wing when I first joined. Worshipful Brother Mark Craig was my master craftsman. He was the master of the lodge when I was doing all three of my degrees. And then to be able to do the same thing for somebody else, it is special, and you do form that bond with other people through that experience.
Absolutely. And actually, Mark helped me with some of mine as well when Dad wasn't as available as he probably wanted to be, right, with running a business. But yeah, Mark does a phenomenal job, and kudos to my dad too for helping me put in the labor, right, and get it done and get to where I am today.
Boy, and if you listening to Mark do the Entered Apprentice lecture and the Master Mason lecture are two things that I'll never forget. I didn't hear him do the Master Mason lecture for my degree. My Master Mason actually took place at the New Home Sunrise degree that they do in the summers, and that was done by, if I remember correctly, I believe it was Right Worshipful Brother Fred Nickerson did the Master Mason lecture at that. And if you've never heard him do that lecture, you're missing out, because he does a fantastic job as well.
I have not traveled considerably outside of our district, but I can say from experience that our district has some excellent lecturers.
Absolutely. And I would be remiss to just not give credit to all of the amazing lecturers that are out there, because you travel during inspection season and you really get to hear those lectures, and you get to hear something new because they're giving it an inflection, or they're talking about it in just a way that it makes you think a little bit differently.
Yeah, different cadence, different inflection. And also, and maybe this is just a me thing, but maybe I'm working on a different problem in my life, or maybe there's something that I'm trying to figure out, and it just hits different. And I've heard it a dozen times, right?
Yeah.
I've heard it a dozen times, sometimes from the same lecture, but for whatever reason that day I hear it different. And I'm able to take something from it, some little bit of wisdom that I didn't have before, and look at things a little bit different. And I love that. I love that about the lectures.
Oh, absolutely. I'm the same way. I can hear the same lecture time and time again, but each time I'm listening and something different resonates. Whatever, it might be something that's going on in my life, and I hear something, I'm like, oh, that's exactly what I needed to hear to help solve that problem. Or, it just hits different each time. And I think the lectures are probably my favorite part of the degrees. I'd love to learn how to give those in the future. It's on my bucket list and goals to do. But
I'm only going to offer minor pushback, because I too love the lectures, but there's something about the working tools for me.
Yeah, you're right. The working tools are fantastic.
It's probably because of just how deep they are and how brief the descriptions are. There's so much packed into just a few short sentences.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. There is.
I have meditated on these things for hours, probably cumulatively, right? Like I'm a father of 3. I don't have hours and hours to sit with my legs crossed and think about these things, but cumulatively, I've probably thought about these things. God, I don't even know how many hours, just because of how really beautiful these are written. And anybody listening, if you are unfamiliar with the term working tools, I would invite you to go to freemason.com.
Yeah.
And take a look at the blog that the Grand Lodge of Ohio has out there. They've got some really interesting writings on the working tools that are found within the Masonic degrees.
Yeah, they really have some great blog posts about not just the tools, but Freemasonry in general and some of the different symbolism as well. Do you have a favorite working tool?
Oh, without question, common gavel.
Ooh, why is that one?
Why?
You knew I was going to ask the why
I did.
question.
I did, and now I know the answer. I'm just wondering. I'm wondering what I can say, or what I should say, frankly, if there are Masons out, or if there are would-be Masons out there.
Maybe give me the emotions that it evokes for you.
When I think of the common gavel, I think of ways that I can always be better. It is a tool that symbolizes working towards perfection.
Yeah.
And I think that resonates really well with me, because no matter how well you're doing in life, no matter how good you are, there's probably something that you would like to change, some part of you that you maybe don't need anymore. Maybe it's a habit, biting your nails, something simple, totally innocuous, right? But you don't want it anymore. And that common gavel and the symbolism around it, and just what it means about improvement. It's just, for whatever reason, really hits home with me.
I like that. I do like that.
You?
Oh boy, it's the level.
Same question. Why, man?
To me, the level really symbolizes the equality of Freemasonry, and really the equality we should strive for in life. It doesn't matter if if you're a judge, if you're a baker, if you're a teacher. We're all the same when we come into this room. And that's really how it should be in society in general. It teaches us that no one person is more important or better than the next. We're all on that same level, and we're all striving for that same improvement in our lives. So the symbolism of just the equality and the inclusion that brings, it really hits home with a lot of what I do in work and career and in life. So
no, and I agree with you, right? That on the level aspect of it, one for one, right? One person, one vote. If you're going to go back to even the founding of this country, because I'll probably beat that horse to death, but no taxation without representation. We're here because we wanted people who represented us. We wanted people to represent us, and we wanted to be able to elect them, right? So have some process to choose a delegate. So I think it's imperative that we have something like that where everyone's opinion matters.
Yeah, absolutely. It's core to the democracy of our nation. It's core to the founding of who we are as a country, and that's I think one of the aspects I really love. Was there something that you think about the degrees and you were surprised when you first heard it, or it didn't? Your mind was kind of blown when you first heard that, and that lesson that you took from it?
Oh gosh. I'm going back to the history, man. Early in life, I was not so much a Bible reader. And so some of my introduction to some of the Old Testament came through hearing, like the first time I heard it was probably during one of our lectures.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the historical aspects to that gave rise to Israel, right? That we hear about battles, right? Just the little historical nuggets that you hear that now, later in life, having gone back and read the Bible, you hear it in a little bit more context there, right? But within the context of the lectures, it was very interesting how we've taken some of these more than 2,000-year-old concepts, like little bits of historical fact, and incorporated them into something that's very modern and imparts a very important lesson.
Yeah, no, I think you're 100% right, because I think I think a lot about that too, and really kind of the esoteric nature of a lot of
Good word.
that that how that plays out. It's beautiful in a lot of ways because you've heard it, you might have grown up with it, but maybe it didn't resonate until you heard it in that lecture.
Well, it frankly, part of the reason that I went back and read the original source material was because of this, because I was intrigued. So that in and of itself, kind of going back to that common gavel, man, what self-improvement. You heard it, got curious, and lo and behold, found something that, hope, God willing, made me a better person.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what, to me, Freemasonry is all about anyway. It's making yourself the best you that you can be.
Yeah.
So, boy, I could probably talk about this for hours, and thinking about just the symbolism and the meaningfulness of it. A lot of times when I think about, Freemasonry, I think of fathers and sons, fathers and grandfathers, great-grandfathers, and it being passed down. I know for me, one of the most meaningful experiences in degree work and doing the degrees that I have had was being a part of all of my dad's degrees as he went through Masonry, you know, kind of flipping the script where usually it's fathers being a part of their son. But for me, I got to be a part of his degrees, and you know, it's a special experience that you really can only share with that one person. And to be able to share that with my dad was just super meaningful. You know, I think I can still think back to his Master Mason degree and the role that I played in that, right? And we were driving home just talking about, you know, the degree, and, you know, asking him, well, how did you like this? You know, what did you think? And he's talking about different pieces of it. And I was like, well, you know, how did I do on that, on that role? And he looks at me, he goes, wait, that was you?
Oh yeah. When it comes to the eye-opening nature of it, there's a curveball that comes at you during that Master Mason degree.
It can be disorienting and very, it puts you out of your normal element, which is good. I think it's supposed to put you out of that element so you can think about what's really happening.
Well, you don't grow in your comfort zone.
Exactly.
So being a little bit uncomfortable, and I'm hoping I'm not turning anybody off to the idea of Masonry by engaging in this conversation. I'm not talking about anything terribly weird, but it's it's a different experience. It's a little outside of the norm, but not so outside of the norm that it should put you off, right? It's just going to be, you're going to see things from a perspective you might not have seen them before. And it as Chris mentioned, it's going to cause you to think. It is very much going to cause you to think.
Well, and I think, talking about pushing people outside of their comfort zones, even joining a lodge was out of my comfort zone as an introvert. So I think it's good because it helps you start to get over that hump a little bit of being being comfortable in the uncomfortable. Before joining a lodge, I don't know that I would ever have sat down and done a podcast like this and just talked about Freemasonry like this. Number one, I didn't know what I didn't know before I joined, but I wasn't comfortable enough to sit and have these kinds of discussions, knowing that other people are going to hear them and be critiquing that. And
the willingness to be vulnerable.
Exactly. It's that willingness to be vulnerable. And that's, to me, that's what the Entered Apprentice degree is. That's the summation of it. It's the willingness to be vulnerable.
It's also kind of a leap of faith, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't know what you're getting into.
Exactly. That, and I go a step further with that. It's also a new beginning.
Yeah.
It's a new beginning because you're kind of, you're almost leaving that you that you were before you entered that lodge right at the door. Now you're going beyond the door. I'm not making a joke about the title, but I am kind of, alluding to
I wish
that.
I had a hi-hat right now.
but
but
I know. But, in reality, it's one of those things that you're going beyond that door now. You're going out of your comfort zone and you're entering something brand new. You're taking on that younger role, that role of youth and exuberance, right?
It's certainly an opportunity. I mean, what I don't want to do is let people think that it's just instantaneous, that it's handed to you, right? There's work to get there. You're going to be introduced to stuff that is going to give you the opportunity to do that, to grow as a person. But it's not going to be forced on you.
Absolutely. Right. Your journey is your journey. It depends on what you want to get out of it. Whatever you put into it is what you're going to get
100%.
Right back out of it.
100%.
I mean, honestly, I can say, I know I've put a lot into it, but I still think I've probably gotten way more out of it than I've put into it yet at this point.
Thus far, yeah. I mean, even having sat in the East twice, there are so many people around me that know so much more about this and they're just better men. It's inspirational, right? To be around those people who are kind of guiding you in those areas and explaining things and giving us those lectures. And, but it's also really inspirational to see the younger guys in the place you were maybe 5 or 6 years ago, or in your case, even less.
Yeah.
And looking at how quickly they're gaining traction and how quickly they're gaining interest, and maybe even in some instances pointing out things that you haven't seen before. It's been a very interesting experience learning from some of our newer members things that, for whatever reason, in spite of hearing all these degrees dozens of times, I hadn't thought of it that way. Now, maybe I would have, the next time or the time after that, but their perspective is just always, it's so interesting, especially, like I said, when they're telling me something that I hadn't quite, air quote, heard before. I mean, I'd heard it, but I just hadn't heard it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll take it another step further. You said it's inspirational, right? It's aspirational too. You're aspiring when you're sitting with these older brethren. I want to be half of what they were. If I'm half of what they are, then I have been more than successful in my journey. And it's aspiring to be that next generation that leads these younger brethren to where we're sitting now, and then to where, like Worshipful Brother Sterling is sitting at this point. So, I think, again, I haven't been in as long as you have, but this, my first year in the East this year it's been a whirlwind. You get thrust into that, right? And it's this leadership role that you're never prepared for. And by the time you get towards the end of your year, you're going, oh, well, crap, now I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. You're 10 months in and it feels like you finally found your stride. And then it's like, oh, I'm planning for an election.
Yeah. It's like, and now there's enough. But, that's also the beauty, I think, of Freemasonry is that it is an election. It's not just somebody that's appointed to that role, right? It's not somebody that's appointed based on seniority. It's based on who the brethren believe can best lead the lodge.
Oh, absolutely. It is. I like to think of this organization as being nothing but meritorious, right? There's no conveyor belt. If you want to do a job and you're capable of doing that job, and the brethren are aware of it, they might elect you to that role. But if you're not capable of it, at least at that point in time, they're probably going to give you a hand, right? They're not going to let you stumble. They're not going to let you fall by the wayside. They're going to tell you what you need to work on, maybe let you pro tem in a couple of different chairs, get that experience, and eventually punch that ticket.
Well, and I think they're also going to be there to help you learn as well. They're not going to just say, okay, do A, B, and C and not be there. They're going to be right there with you, helping you learn those different pieces, giving you, like you say, giving them the opportunities to do it, but also teaching you how to do it before you go out there and try to do it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of getting a little bit back onto the topic, we talked about the meaningful experiences. Tell me about one of your most meaningful experiences, so far in the 3 degrees.
Oh, I think I already talked about it. And for anybody who heard episode 1, I apologize for the redundancy. But having my dad give the obligation while being the inspection candidate in the Master Mason, and kind of the big reveal that takes place was second to none, right? That's something I'm gonna have with me forever. I don't think that anything is going to surpass that. You?
I mean, again, my dad, always comes to mind being a part of his degrees and really doing that. I think one of the other more meaningful experiences was being raised at New Home in the bright sunlight. It's an outdoor degree when they do that in the summer. Not a lot of people get to do that. There's one person every year that gets to be that candidate, and that's if there's even a candidate available. So, if it's just a pro tem candidate, it's not the actual candidate. When you're a live, real candidate for the New Home outdoor degree, there's just something special about it. There's that connection to the degree in a way that I don't want to say that you don't get indoors, but there's a special connection that you get to it by being outside. You're feeling the wind. The sun is right in your face. The birds are chirping. There's something very, very what's the word I'm looking for? I think it's primal.
Primal's
almost.
a good word.
Yeah, that about that experience that I would not trade that for the world.
Are you suggesting that a species that has been around for 200,000 years might appreciate being outdoors as opposed to the artificial environment that we've placed ourselves in for the last 200?
I think there's something very true to that. And I'm not saying that doing a Master Mason degree inside isn't meaningful. I've been to plenty of those. I've done a few of those this year, especially for some of our brethren. But there's just something about that, and maybe it was just because it was my raising and stuff, but, there's something very powerful about doing that outside. It really takes you back to the drama that you experience in that degree, and you really start to think this is what it was like, when this happened. And they were outside. They were not in a nice air conditioned, climate controlled building.
When there is as much symbolism around light as there is in Freemasonry, I don't think anybody would argue that artificial light is an extremely poor substitute for the sun.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the most memorable aspects of doing the degree outside is you're facing the east in the morning, and the light is just right on you. I mean, bright sunshine right on you, and it's powerful. It is super powerful. I'll never forget that.
Far more memorable than an LED.
Far more memorable than an LED. Not a lot of experiences, like I said, can match that. The one that I think of the most, again, my dad, but that one was something special. I'm hoping that this next summer I can take him out to that one so he can see that done outside. And if anybody listening, if you haven't been out to that one, it's usually in July, right after the 4th. Get to it. It is an absolutely beautiful degree to see done outside, and New Home does an amazing job with that degree. Have you seen it yet?
I've actually not had an opportunity.
We're going to have to make that road trip then this next summer.
I've wanted to now for a decade, and something has always come up.
All right, well, mark your calendar. We'll figure out exactly what date it is. Mark your calendar now. We're going to go see that one.
I'm hoping we can make a lodge effort of it. I would really like to see another one of our candidates over there for it, and have everybody from 97 out to support them.
Absolutely. I think it would be fantastic to see another Newark 97 person raised over there at New Home. And again, like I said, they do such a great job. But great degree work is, really only part of the Masonic journey. So we're going to kick it over to our second part of our interview with Worshipful Brother Art Sterling, talking about the history of this building and really the history of Masonry in Newark and parts of Licking County here. When this building was built, did they source things locally, or were materials imported?
This is going to be really interesting for me after what you've expressed to me before. I can't believe it.
According to the documents and according to the advocate, if it could be purchased locally, it was. But when they started purchasing things for the air conditioning, which isn't the kind we have today, they had to go out and get the parts, and some of those parts delayed the building structure for a few weeks. So they had to go, for instance, to Dayton, and that was a 3-day trip.
This whole conversation is taking a second for it to set into my brain. I'm like, why? Oh yeah, they were riding horse and buggy to go pick up.
Yeah, that was a carriage ride.
That is incredible.
So it wasn't none of the material was symbolically imported. It was just a matter of function.
To my knowledge, that's correct.
Okay.
Okay, I was wondering just the material itself, and the choices I find fascinating, like ceramic and the walls, which is a plumber, electrician, anybody's nightmare as far as modifying or fixing something that might break, which it always will. So, I know you're a handyman and things like that to a degree, in your specialty. Do you have any experiences that would be interesting as far as dealing with the material of this building?
Trying to drill a hole.
Trying to literally drill one hole.
Can take you a day.
Oh my God, I can't imagine.
Many of the walls, or the original walls, are ceramic tile. That was done so that this building would be fireproof. It was the first fireproof building.
So, and that was a fire containment strategy?
Yes. They also had, if you look around the building, there's still pipes, and occasionally you'll find a piece of hose. Don't try to use it, of course, because it was installed in 1915. But I do have one of the fire hose ends, which I believe we donated to the Newark Fire Department.
Okay.
So I don't know if they still have it, but that was done several years ago in the minutes.
Well, we still have the whole length of hose up on 4.
Yeah, I was going to say
do.
the 4. So that was part of the fire suppression as well, as they put those basically fire hoses in to say, "Oh, put your own fire out."
They had a 2.5-inch water main coming in the building.
Wow.
Because there's also was there one of those on every floor? Because I feel like I remember seeing one of those on the 3rd floor as well.
Not only on every floor, but in every room.
Oh, wow.
That is so cool.
So yes.
Well, everything was candlelight and things like that,
Oil
Yes.
lamps.
Yeah, I was going to say, we were probably
Gas.
working
Oh,
with gas.
gas lamps. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
When they first started the building, electric was a new thing. So they put gas for light all through the building.
Oh, my gosh.
By the time they started, and they actually started breaking ground in January of 1913, electric had become sort of a thing, but it was DC.
Oh, of
So
course.
the wiring in the basement that's buried in the walls was intended for DC.
In that same vein of thought, right? I'm thinking not just of the size of some of these rooms, but the volume. When we look at the Blue Room or we look at the Royal Room, do we have any photos from that time of the
No.
gas lamps lit?
Man.
I'm trying to envision those big rooms, the volume of those rooms being filled with gas.
They had a ventilation shaft from the roof all the way to the basement.
Wow.
That shaft is still, if you go to the ballroom behind us and look at the wall, there's a partition across that. That was the ventilation shaft.
Huh.
In the 1940s or 50s, whenever they did their major renovation, they actually separated it by floor and put floors in those ventilation shafts and made small rooms in some of them. And my full intention was to find you guys and share it with you.
And that's what we wanted. We love this.
So do I.
Did the membership of the bodies have input on what the building was going to be like?
Yes. They had a general meeting, the last meeting that I show record in the club, as they had a general membership meeting, everyone who could make it. And they actually sent out a notice saying, if you can make it, please attend, to each member. And so they had members of both lodges, chapter, council, commandery, all at one time meeting. It didn't say where the meeting was, but having seen the Ryder building, it couldn't have been up there because they would have had at least 400 to 500 people at the meeting.
Gosh.
So yes,
Wow.
each
Wow.
person
Yeah.
had their input, and each member had access to the engineer.
Oh, wow. I
That
mean,
is so
as being
cool.
somebody who has worked on just modern construction buildings, I can't imagine, everybody having access to the engineer and just the overload
Well,
that those engineers would have.
Yes, and then the chaos of a all-in-one meeting with everybody showing up, and which makes perfect sense of the way that members are addressed in a lodge, and that makes so much more sense. I mean, it always made sense, but ethically to me, but now it's starting to make so much more sense practically to it be addressed and to be in concert like that. That is.
I don't know. I'll be the disagreeable one. I think that's too many cooks.
Well,
in the
that's
kitchen.
kind of where I was going. I was
Well,
like, in
okay,
modern
because you have
construction,
300
yeah.
standing up, right?
Right. No,
How do you?
No disrespect to any of the brethren, but I mean, people have expertise, right?
Yeah.
There's the joke that a camel is a horse built by committee. I mean, if you want something to be functional, I don't know that you would necessarily go.
Everybody has access to the
Right,
engineer.
right.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, they had several meetings within the lodge and within the chapter, within the bodies.
So
They had several meetings. So everything was hashed out at those meetings.
Oh, there was
So
multiple.
having a big meeting would be like going to Grand Lodge of Ohio for their
Okay.
state
So this
session.
was
Okay.
more. So this was probably more. Most of this was hammered out in terms of the high level stuff, in terms of what was needed in order to make this a functional, beautiful building. And we were the larger body was probably then just plain democracy.
to ask questions like
Right.
you're asking now.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, because I'm sitting here picturing, we're having this meeting, and then all of a sudden Carl in the back stands up and says, "I want this room in this building."
Yeah.
That's what. And then Bob over on the other side goes, "I want this,"
This
and then
is
you've
how-
got like 400 people saying, "We want this." And
What
it's
if
like,
we had
Well, keep it-
11 chimneys?
Keep in mind, this was a structured meeting.
Okay.
This wasn't a general meeting like you'd have out in a sidewalk. This was a structured meeting. So if you wanted recognition, you had to ask the master.
Okay.
So that type of thing. So
I could still see Bob standing up in the corner, going, giving the proper salutes and saying, "I want this building." I can still just see that.
you might want to keep in mind that if you entered the front door of this building in 1962 to have this meeting, you better have on a suit and tie.
And that's what. Yeah, I could see that as well.
I feel a little underdressed now.
Up
Yeah.
until
Well, I wore
19
jeans. Told you.
up until 1987, anytime Acme Lodge did conferral work, they did it with all officers in tuxedos.
Wow.
Can we bring that back, gentlemen?
We
Can bring
actually
that
had
back?
we had a conversation in this very room not long ago about attire and the importance of it.
Yes, it is so important.
Don't get me wrong. It is hot. It is late July and it is very warm outside. So I'm unabashedly in a t-shirt. But I was explaining to a younger brother that was kind of more inclined with the casual dress, for purposes of lodge, the psychological effect of dressing up, right? And how important it is, not only in how somebody carries themselves, but also how to stand out, right? Both for economic gain and for purposes of civic duty. You don't necessarily want to, in an elitist way, separate yourself from the crowd, but if you want to lend credibility to yourself, you should act and look the part.
And not just from from a person's perspective, wondering what masonry is about, as far as an advertisement or showing integrity, but to yourself. When you put on a suit, you think I'm doing something important today.
Yes.
You feel different.
Yeah.
You feel
We
different.
still consider Masonic funerals affairs where you need to wear a suit.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Any funeral at all, in that for that matter, or at least,
Yeah.
well, never mind.
No, I know. I agree
No,
with
I
you.
know.
You're
Yeah.
100% right.
What's interesting is basically can't buy a tuxedo these days.
It's tough. It's very
It's
tough.
incredible. Like it's a rental economy.
Mr. Tux went broke.
Yeah, in its heyday, in your time in lodge, Arthur, when it was at its peak, what was the average attendance at a stated meeting?
Probably 25 to 30. But our inspections, we'd have between 150 to 200.
Man.
In this past inspection season, 2025, the peak was 63, and was actually for Newark 97.
Yeah.
What
And
is
it's probably because we did the joint with
We
us
credit,
and Acme
yes,
together.
credit where it's due. We had two
Yeah.
in one day in the same building, of course, but it was you traveled, I traveled.
we both traveled for 'em.
inspections, and attendance is down. And part of that, at least anecdotally for me, is a function of COVID. There was an attrition that happened because we weren't able to meet there for a while, but it wasn't that long ago that we were able to fill that room up with at least during inspection season.
we had in the early 80s, when I was going through the line, I went to every inspection in the district for 7 years in a row. Then I became district president. And all during that time, we'd have 100 or more. And the big lodges, Newark, Acme, and Coshocton Lodge, would generally have 150 to 200. According to the minutes, they used to have as many as 400 people in that room. And I have no idea how they put them
Yes,
all in.
That's a standing room only.
Because the room
Yeah.
is the same size now as it was in 1915.
But
Oh.
I mean, I wasn't raised that long ago in calendar years, right? And I was an inspection candidate for a Master Mason, and I remember being raised with just a sea of people. And it was probably over 100 at the time.
Yeah.
And not anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think just even thinking back to, I mean, again, I'm a younger Mason than you are actually, and so like probably the first inspection that I can remember, we had people in the balcony at that one, and
And not just because they wanted to be.
because they had to be.
Right.
Yeah, they were in the balcony because they had to be. They didn't, like when we went up there and sat just to be the cool kids, they had to be in the balcony. And now, in 2025, I think back, and we didn't have anybody in our balcony. 63 was fantastic. We were super happy with that, and we won the traveling gavel. But
When you look at numbers, one of the interesting things is I have articles down there from the Masonic News. And just before we came up, Greg Chesterton was looking at one of those articles, and he said, Art, nothing's changed. We're still trying to do the same thing the same way. And immediately I thought, I've never done a podcast before, so I don't think so. We're going to try some new things. But
We'll see if it takes
the
off.
members that we have are dedicated members.
Yes.
A lot of them work night shift and so forth, so they don't attend. So when you have 10% of your members and you only have 150 members, it don't take very long to empty the room out.
yeah, I mean, I feel like, especially this last 2 years, I mean, it's been great to see our numbers at our stated meetings growing. And boy, what was it? Last one we had about 17, I think, if
17.
memory serves me right.
Yeah.
So I mean, to me, it's fun to see that growth and to share the excitement, the passion, the future.
Yeah, we definitely have something going on in our lodge to kind of increase that number a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But when I do see growth, there's a little kind of underlying fear of like, well, are they going to stay? Are you gonna keep coming back? And I think to try to put it, to help members sustain and want to come back is to get them involved with something without scaring them off, which is a very delicate process,
Sorry, going back to our original topic too, though, we've talked a lot about those paintings up on on the fourth floor in the Blue Lodge room. I think one of the cool things right now, again, talking about trying new things, we're part of the Licking County 250th passport program, I think, for celebrating America's 250th birthday, basically. We're actually on that tour because of the paintings that we have in that room. And I guess my question to Art is, we know, I think we've all heard about this artist, as much as we can, but, could you tell us more about the paintings, the artist, and why that is significant to Licking County?
I have a little pamphlet about Amzie Garden. On the front of it is a picture of a little girl playing with some blocks. That's not the full picture. Tom Huff had the original at his house, and those blocks had AMZI. That's the only painting that Amzie Garden made that is known to have had a reference to his name. If you look through the pamphlet, all the other pictures are black and white.
Huh.
Interesting. So,
And he traveled as an artist. And when he was here, I think you have all the information on your sheet. If you'd like to read down through that, and then I'll comment as I can add to it.
Okay.
So yeah, Amzi A. Godden, born in 1813 in Sussex County, New Jersey. He lived here in Newark with his mother on South 4th Street. He was a tall, blonde, sickly, and desperately poor man at the time of his death. A local citizen reported on his death and funeral that on an errand of mercy, so calling hours for his funeral, they were horrified at the bare little house and the cheap deal coffin resting on 2 chairs, unpainted and wooden. A steady stream of water dripping into a big tub underneath for the casket from the ice packed around him. So, kind of giving you that kind of starving artist type of vibe.
So it still doesn't pay to be an artist, I'm gathering.
What was the year of death?
The year of death was 1855. So, we're talking, 42 years old when he passed away.
I was trying to determine if it was a lack of funds preventing embalming.
It sounds like what it was.
No, I don't believe so, because I believe embalming didn't come about until the Civil War.
Okay. Let's see. He left a portrait or 2 on every wall of Old Newark, the prettiest of which was thought to be Little Iva and Nellie Robbins. He died in 1855 and was buried in Cedar Hill Cemetery. He is admired by artists from around the world. One of the paintings, called A Broken Column, this painting depicts a story of Masonic lore. Newark Lodge number 97 commissioned this painting in 1849 for the cost of $65. In today's money, that is $2,714. The other one is George Washington in Masonic dress. This portrait of George Washington was commissioned by Newark Lodge 97 on December 11th of 1847 for, again, $65, totaling, again, so about, we spent about $5,400 in today's, money for those paintings, but 65. So again, not a lot, not a small sum.
Used Rio worth.
Yeah. And then, this portrait, the George Washington one specifically, was hung on the 2nd floor of the Licking County Courthouse. On New Year's Day of 1848, the painting was made available for public viewing from noon until 4. So yeah, it's and the Broken Column one was also on February 22nd of 1850 made available for the benefit of Amzi Godden at the Masonic Hall of Licking County Courthouse. So it sounds like there was a Masonic Hall right there, like Art had alluded to earlier, where people could come in and see the Broken Column painting as well.
The large painting that's referred to in the courthouse, when the courthouse burned in 1876, that painting was destroyed.
Oh.
So the one that we have is a second painting done by him?
This is the Masonic George Washington. The other painting that was in the courthouse was of George Washington
as well.
Yes.
Oh, so he did 2 George Washington paintings, one that is here with us and one that burnt in the Licking County Courthouse fire.
That's according to Walter Thomas Huff. I called him Tom.
Okay. Were they identical?
No.
Okay. What was the difference? Like, what was the one that was in the?
I don't know what the one in the courthouse was. There was a description of it, but I don't remember what it is.
Just from talking with some different art experts around Ohio, that we did get some information on a little bit of, especially the George Washington painting. It's a very close replica of a very famous and iconic Masonic painting of George Washington from Gilbert Stuart. I believe it was done in 1796. Very similar to it, obviously, so that's where he took his inspiration for that painting. And I'm guessing a lot of painters that painted Masonic paintings probably did that as well. But it's the Lansdowne portrait. Again, an iconic life-size portrait of George Washington by Gilbert Stuart in 1796, which kind of tracks with the size of the painting that ours is as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
He traveled from Alabama to Minnesota. If you look him up, you can find he's had works in several different places besides Newark.
I don't know if I caught this. Was he a Mason himself?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, that's fun. That's odd to see a. I don't know. I'm thinking of a modern culture, but
Yeah.
it's odd to see somebody pay tribute to Masonry as a non-Mason.
Well, if you're commissioned and you're poor and starving, I suppose.
Oh, right. Yes, I forgot how artists or how art in the business world works. I'm like, what? You just as an artist, you just do what you want to do, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think what's
But
interesting.
you still got to sustain yourself.
Yeah, yeah. I forgot about food and stuff like that.
And I think what's interesting too is when you look at the Masonic lore painting,
It's not perfect.
it's not perfect, and there are some things in there you're saying, okay, somebody that was not a Mason painted
That's
this.
funny.
From an artistic perspective, obviously, there's nothing wrong. There's not
Yes,
any
it's a
obvious
symbolic.
flaws. Correct.
It's a symbolic flaw. If you do get a chance to come down to any of the open houses we have for the Licking County Historical Society, for tours of these paintings, I come down and see them because they are, they're fantastic. I'm at a loss for words on how to describe just how beautiful they really are.
Well,
Yeah.
you're not only that, but you're looking at a never do public math. What is
Almost
that?
200-year-old.
I was going to say 175-year-old piece of local history.
Yeah.
I think just walking through the building itself is almost more worth it to me. And I know, some people want to see certain things, but just to walk through this building and be able to speculate what it used to be is incredible in itself, and really worth it. So
And ponder the possibilities of what it can be.
yes, exactly.
If you think those are interesting, maybe you should stop longer on the third floor and look at the paintings on the third floor.
Oh, I have.
The lithographs,
Yes.
those were made by a member of Newark Lodge 97.
Really? Huh.
Also, in the small conference room, there's a painting of the Challenger. It's
Okay.
number like 50 out of 100 or something.
Huh.
So the two big paintings are not the only things in the building that are special.
That's amazing.
You also find the rules for the pool room.
Yes.
Those are in a frame, and those are from the old building on Main Street between 1908 and 1915. They still met over on Main Street.
Wow.
So a lot of the references you have in your minutes between the two buildings are actually minutes from that building.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know we've kind of gone in a circuitous route, but how long did it, after we laid that cornerstone, how long was it before we were actually meeting here?
Well, the first meeting was an entered apprentice degree for Foster Wyatt. Foster Wyatt was a local character whom they used to refer to as the bashful bailiff.
The
Okay.
bashful bailiff.
Yes, him and his brother and one other received their entered apprentice degrees. And I have
It's kind of apt.
Sounds kind of like a wrestling name, the bashful bailiff.
Well, I haven't gone the WWE route. I was more thinking that if you're going to have an inaugural event at a new building,
You want the bashful bailiff there.
yes, that's where I was going. It had nothing to do with the first degree in masonry at all. A first degree for a first meeting seems very appropriate.
It does seem an entered apprentice degree for your very first Mason. The first degree is an extremely appropriate. Do you think that was intentional?
Yes. And I had the opportunity to meet and talk to Foster Wyatt.
The master of the lodge at the time?
No,
Oh,
he was the elder of the lodge at the time.
oh, okay.
He was, I believe, 97 years old when I met him, and he died shortly before he was 100. And one thing I remember about Foster is he said, the only thing I want in my whole life is to have an obituary that does not say survived by his wife. A week after he died, his wife died. And the obituary did not say survived by his wife. So some of these things that you hear and some of the stories you get just from sitting next to someone who was born in the 1800s
Yeah.
You talk to people born in the 1900s.
Yeah.
I am born in the 1900s.
And you don't even think about it. But think about the two generations behind you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As the people born in the 1900s pass away,
Yeah.
when you have an opportunity to sit and talk to somebody who was literally born in the 1890s.
So he was at that first meeting, or that
He
first
was an
entered
entered
apprentice.
apprentice.
He was.
They got his entered apprentice degree at that meeting.
Oh my gosh.
Him
Okay.
and his brother and one other guy.
So now I'm putting that together. He was actually
It's in this document.
one of the entered apprentices for that. That's
Yes.
absolutely amazing.
And the date and everything's in this, but I can't read it without my glasses. I won't put 'em on.
I'm gonna steal that from you for just a second. Oh wow! I mean,
So that's in the Newark Advocate, 1915.
I find it amazing that was actually in the Newark Advocate at that time too.
I don't.
Well, I find it amazing just thinking of it in today's terms.
So if my information is correct, once upon a time, that newspaper was owned by Masons.
I don't know.
Well, that's amazing too. I mean, that's a whole nother. To me, that's a whole nother topic with the conspiracy theories. But
I don't want to get into them.
no, not today. I mean, I think we've
So we broke ground in
12.
1912. So
Actually, the first shovel, according to the state of Ohio, was January the 13th of 1913.
Okay, 1913.
So it
And
took us 2
according
years
to the article
construct
which
this
we
building.
have, that coincides with when the first part of it come in. January the 8th, 1912 meeting was held with all of the trustees present except Brother Louis P. Schaus. He was at Grand Lodge. After a general discussion, several locations were talked about, and this goes down through, and they wound up at the George B. Sprague property. And they actually bought the property. In the history of the property, it shows where it was sold at one point, and the individuals that bought it didn't have sufficient funds to pay for it, so it went back to the previous owner, who had some complications at the time because he had married between the time he sold it and the time it come back. And funny enough, I have actually got a copy of that letter.
Was it an awkward letter?
It would be, in my opinion. So I don't think that's ever been published. It was in the safe in the bottom underneath all the minutes.
Oh my gosh.
So I think it was hidden.
That's great. What a discovery that would be.
What's your favorite place in the building, Art?
I think the Blue Room.
The Blue Room? Is it for a reason that you can disclose to the general public, or is it?
I think it's where my memories of three of the best Masons that I ever met. And there are several more. I mean, we got Randy Williams and Tom Gartner and Richard Lewis, Gilbert Kokensberger, all of those people. But all of them met in the Blue Room, not all of them met in the Royal Room. So I think my fondest memories come from the sitting down beside a Foster Wyatt. And Emmett Edwards was a master in 1921. You had to be 21 to be a Mason. So I'm sure he had 10 or 12 years in line. So he certainly was from the 1870s or 1880s. And then to be set in lodge with his grandson, and to sit in lodge with Wilbur Salyer, and then with his son, and then his grandson, and then his great-grandson, in that one room. One of the really great things about Masonry is the Grand Master of Masons in Ohio made a train conductor a Mason at sight. Richard Wright, who is responsible for preparing several of these articles from the Advocate, is now a judge at courts here in Newark, Ohio. He's a past master of our lodge. and he's done several parts, and he still attends regularly. To get the opportunity to sit down beside individuals like that is wonderful.
That was so beautifully articulated. Thank you for that.
Keep in mind, when I started this, I was 37.
You don't look a day older than
I
37.
never expected to be the old guy. So some days, if I can impart as much of this as I can to you, the three of you will be the old guy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
Because there's nobody else around this building right now that knows what you have just learned.
Yeah, we've talked about what's your favorite room in this building. What is your favorite memory in this building?
Sitting between Joe Hawkins and Emmett Edwards and listening to them talk across in front of me when I was in his position.
When you were the junior
I
warden?
just got my Master Mason about a year and a half before, and I think I was junior deacon, actually, and listening to their conversation. And the second one was having an opportunity to talk to Ed Heckelman. We've only had 2 district deputy grand masters in the history of Acme Lodge, and I've talked to both of them. Ed Heckelman was 1942, year I was born, and Randy Williams was in 92, 3, and 4, something like that. And Randy's a real good friend of mine. So I've had the opportunity to talk to the only 2 people that served in that capacity. I share the Knight Templar Cross of Honor with Floyd Weimer and Ed Hughes and Ralph Koffel. Ralph Koffel signed my petition. Right now, when Floyd Weimer wants to go to a meeting, I'm his driver. So Ed Hughes was the custodian in this building for many years, and he was the primary custodian when I took over the secretaries. So having the opportunity just to talk to individuals like that.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, you may be sitting next to Dr. Bondi, a dentist. You don't even know he's a doctor until about a year later somebody says, "Did you talk to Doc Bondi about that?" Who? Dr. Bondi. I didn't know he was a doctor. I didn't know Richard Wright was a lawyer until a year and a half after I met him. So those opportunities, there's not just one. But if I have to pick one, it's sitting between Emmett Edwards and Foster Wyatt.
That's awesome. Yeah, and you mentioned that there have been 2 district deputies from Acme. Do you know how many there have been from Newark 97?
I think you've had 3, but I can't remember the first one's name. The second one was the secretary of Newark Lodge for quite a while, Gene Galbraith. Mm-hmm. And the third one was Richard Beard. So I think both of those guys may have still been alive when you guys...
For me, yes.
Yeah, I don't think for me.
Not for you, just for you.
Maybe for Alex, too.
Well, Gene Galbraith and his son have left a lot of money to Newark Lodge 97 for scholarships. There's actually a Galbraith Scholarship Fund in Newark 97 to assist young people in their college education. They have some rules on it, but Richard Lewis is the one that knows that, so he needs to pass that along to one of you.
Yeah, that's something that we try to give out every year.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say it's limited to 4 candidates, and there is an application process, but it's fairly timely in terms of you know pretty quick once it's done, and we try to publicize that not incredibly broadly, right? We're not taking out full page ads in the newspaper or anything, but between the membership, we try to at least let local high schools know, as well as obviously the members who have graduating students.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Alex, I think that Richard Beard was still alive when you joined the lodge, but I don't think that he was active at that time due to health.
Just for your audience, a district deputy grand master is assigned by the Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Ohio for a specific period of time to represent him in the districts. There are 25 districts in Ohio. We are in the knowledgeable 19th district, and we have had only 2 of those representatives in Acme Lodge. I think Jewett might be the name of the other. member from Newark Lodge 97 that was a past district deputy grand master. We've also had several district deputy grand high priests in our chapter. Floyd Weimer, Randy Williams, Mark Bruns, Frank Bailey, Frank Boner. So we've had several of those. We've also had a Grand Master that's Newark Lodge. That was Grand Master William Cunningham. And Grand Master from Acme Lodge, that was Louis P. Shells. And we haven't had one since 1912, so.
Huh.
I guess
We've
we have a
never
little
had
bit of
one
work
since-
to do then, huh, guys?
Never had one since we've been in this building.
Well, we started out with the traveling gavel. Let's make that, that's one small step for man.
One small step, I think.
I'm a past Grand Historian of the Grand Council and a past Grand Marshal of the Knights of the York Cross of Honor, along with some other titles,
How many titles?
several. I don't want to overload you too often.
Well, coming full circle, go back to the building again. We don't know what we don't know. I know we've hit a lot of topics about this building, but is there anything that we haven't covered that we should know?
One thing that everybody should know is when you walk down the hallway on the second floor, there's a little pipe sticking out. That was a central vacuum system, and you'll find it all through the building.
Oh, I love that.
Oh,
The
my
problem was they never got it to run because the motor they had was DC.
Huh.
And by the time they got the building finished, it was AC.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Also, the motors they had up on between the fifth floor and the roof, there's about a 5-foot high area.
Huh.
There were 2 DC motors up there. Floyd Weimer and his friends removed those motors and put them down through that shaft that goes up there. And then they hauled some motors up there, which were AC, and they hooked them up and they started it. That's when they found out that somebody had put cement on all of the floors and blocked off all of the
Oh
ventilations.
no!
Oh, my goodness.
So they did that in the early 1960s. Floyd's still around, and he tells me these things because I drive him back and forth everywhere. And we got a 1-hour drive. It's never silent in the car.
That is so funny. It's blowing my mind.
Again, Worshipful Brother Sterling, thank you so much for taking some time to sit down with us. We really appreciate not just your knowledge, on this immaculate building, but everything you've done for the craft, for Acme, for Newark, for the Temple Company. We are just more, beyond thrilled to have you, here with us. So, thank you so much.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Always say if you're doing it right, it's fun. If you're not doing it right and it's fun, it's wrong. This is fun.
It is. This is absolutely fun.
We very much need to do this again.
Yeah.
Anytime that I'm available, as long as I'm not at the doctor.
The boss will give you the day off.
Boss did. She gives me every day off. She usually says, "Don't you have someplace to go?"
Oh man, that's funny.
It's amazing.
Oh yeah, thank you so much, and I hope this is one of many.
Wow, that was a really powerful interview with Worshipful Brother Sterling. Just, his knowledge about our building is absolutely fantastic.
It really is. In a perfect world, I would have liked to have heard a little bit more about his background and his life, but I'm pretty sure he threatened us if we started asking those questions.
I'm pretty sure those threats were in there, but boy, does he have just a great knowledge of not just our building, but Freemasonry in general. And if you really liked that interview, both in the first and second episodes here, you can find the extended version with video on our YouTube page. So head on out to Newark 97's YouTube page where you can check out the extended version of our interview with Worshipful Brother Art Sterling. So this is once again going to do it here for us at Beyond the Door. We really hope you enjoyed this episode, and we're again looking forward to connecting with you each and every month right back here in the Newark 97 podcast studio. Please help us grow our audience by subscribing to us on your favorite podcast listening app, the one that you like the best, and share this podcast with your brothers, your friends, and your family. Anybody interested in Masonry or just interested in, great discussion about the topics that we've had. Did you enjoy this episode? Please leave your feedback on your podcatcher of choice or email us at newark.97.lodge@gmail.com. We really want to hear from you and, topics that you want us to discuss or talk about. When you leave those reviews, though, just make them good, only good reviews, right?
Yeah, all the bad ones should come in through either the email or the comment section of YouTube, where I would also invite you to comment on whether or not our faces match the voices you're hearing.
Oh, that's a really good one. I'm not sure that folks are ready for that. But again, make those reviews good. But you want to get in touch with us as well. Newark 97 is on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Again, you can also reach us via email at newark.97.lodge@gmail.com. Until next time, stay safe, and as always, search for light in Masonry.